Today on CityCast Portland, we're talking about Mayor Ted Wheeler's proposed daytime camping crackdown on city property, Westland's new Gen Z mayor, and the voting out of conservative members from suburban school boards. Joining us on this week's Friday News Roundup is Willamette Week reporter and host of the Dive podcast, Brianna Wheeler, and our very own audio producer, Julia Fiaioni. It's Friday, May 19th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Brianna, Julia, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Well, Brianna, you might remember from the last time you were here, I usually start off with a question at the top. So everyone knows who's listening, like who's in the room and what to expect from each of us. So my question this morning is, if you had to choose one patio in Portland that you could only hang out like the entire summer, like this is going to be your patio for the summer, which one would it be? And I'll let you guys think about it for a second. I'm going to give a very obvious answer that most people who know me would just say it's going to be this one. I don't even know if the patio has a name, but it's the Garrison is the bar that is like a block away from me and I would walk to. And I'm going to walk to pretty much every day in the summer and just hang out in the patio there. And that's where Pacificio Loro is also hanging out. You know, they serve food there. So that's my choice because I'm very lazy. Also, it's excellent. It is an excellent patio.
I totally thought you were going to say, before you said, I'm going to spend every day of the summer there, I thought that sentence was going to, and I'm going there right after we're done here. I mean, it is hot.
I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, well, they're not open. It would just be me alone in that patio pre-gaming like a weird, like I just graduated from high school and I'm still hanging out in the parking lot drunk.
Just bringing your own drinks.
I'm just like, hey guys, I used to play football here. It's just like, go home, Claudia.
You used to play football at the patio.
Yeah, go home. So what are your patios?
I would say first one that came to mind was Roadside Attraction on Southeast Taylor. It's one of the first bars actually that I went to when I moved to Portland. So it's something that I have like nostalgic fond memories for. But I just love the way that the patio is set up with these little like red lit nooks. Feels intimate, but also communal in this way. It is a cash-only place, so if you're thinking of going, keep that in mind. But I just really love that spot.
Also, I like their jukebox.
Mm-hmm. That place is awesome. I love that place. Well, if there's just one patio that that this is the patio for the summer, then I have to go to the Solera Brewery, which I'm so sorry to tell you is just outside of Portland. It's on the south side of Mount Hood, and it's a little bit of a drive, to get up to Parkdale, where this is, I don't know, like 40 minutes maybe. But it's this little tiny town. It very much feels like in the middle of nowhere, but it's like right at the foot of Mount Hood. So it is like being in a house in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of nothing, in a beautiful, what do you call it? Like a beautiful pasture. And then Mount Hood is just right there. You're just looking right at its face. It's so gorgeous. It's so gorgeous.
Oh, it's so... I just Googled it because I was like, I've never heard of this place. And the first picture that came up was like this artistic shot that someone did of their beer, in focus while the mountain is out of focus. And it's like they're cheering the mountain, but the wrong thing is in focus. I'm like, I don't want to see your beer. But that looks lovely. And I want to go there. Cool. Well, thank you guys. Excellent answers. Julia, I felt like yours was like a throwback to our best dive bars in Portland conversation. If you guys want to know about the best dive bar conversations, we have talked about it, and it is in our back catalog. Anyhow, this week, a lot of, I feel like headlines were taken over by, of course, elections, because we had, kind of a mid-election cycle that ended this week. So I'm curious about your headlines, what you've chosen, what stories really stuck out to you. Brianna, you want to start us off?
Yes, I would love to chat about what our mayor's problem with houseless people is. Anthony Effinger reports for Willamette Week this week that Mayor Ted Wheeler, which I just got to tell you guys, no relation. I don't know him. We are not related. It's just a popular last name.
Your cousin, Mayor Ted Wheeler.
My uncle daddy Ted Wheeler. All right. So Mayor Wheeler he's got this new proposition. He wants to ban camping on city property, which it's not new. Like this has been he's been waving this flag for a while. But now this new initiative he's going to ban camping on city property from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the effort is meant to kind of sweep out the permanent tent clusters and like the kind of structures that are being built around the city. So part of the proposal requires unsheltered people be prohibited from camping at any time, day or night, near schools, daycare centers, and other shelter sites. And they're going to put he's going to put that vote to the city council by the end of this month. This initiative, this is all tangled up in House Bill 3115, which was Tina Kotek's baby when she was the House Speaker. That was passed in 2021, and it requires local laws about sitting, lying, and sleeping on public property to be objectively reasonable as to time, place, and manner with regards to persons experiencing homelessness. So Tina wanted to make sure that all of these cities weren't just straight up criminalizing homelessness. Without offering, well, she didn't want it criminalized, period. But she also wanted to make sure that alternatives were being offered for shelter.
I'll be honest, Brianna. I read through it and I'm not mad at this.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it because it's not just like, hey, don't put up tents in areas that are going to obstruct businesses or like private property of sense like your house or a sidewalk. But it's also like, how about you don't leave behind trash or feces? I feel like that's a minimal ask.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like no one should have the right to poop on the sidewalk and leave it there. But I know there's more than that. But when I saw that, I want you to know that the little conservative part of my heart that I'm sure exists in all of us grew.
Grew 2 sizes.
Like, grew to Grinch proportions. I was like,
oh, Lord.
Could that be a thing we don't have to deal with? Because what do you need from me? I'm happy to do that too. So I'm sorry, Brienne. I know you have more to say. Take it away, but I'm just letting you know that I'm quietly like, oh, she's gonna hate me in like 5 minutes.
4, 3, 2. How dare you? How dare you even? Why could you think like how, Claudia? No, I get it. I get it too, because I don't want to step in human shit when I'm taking my mental health walks during the day. But I also
or children as they're walking to school.
Totally.
You know?
I have a kid and I walk. Yeah, I totally get that. But I also see a city that's just like, hey, don't shit on the street. No, it's your problem. Find a place. Find a clean, suitable place to shit. Don't talk to me about it. Don't tell me about it. And I will provide you with nothing. That's kind of where my mind is.
The response that the Wheeler team had, was that, hey, we actually are building the outdoor shelter that has been, of course, under a lot of scrutiny.
Oh, yeah.
That is the thinking. Because, like, as you said, Tina Kotek was basically like, hey, if you're going to enact these rules, you have to provide alts, right?
Yeah.
So I think what they're doing right now is the city's going, okay, what can we get away with that is considered humane, part of that rule, and then the whole point is, okay, cool, now you have to, provide options. And I think that's why they're preparing this, is because they're going to be able to answer that in their minds. Like this, is it going to be a suitable solution? We don't know.
Yeah.
Does it suck to think that people who because I'm thinking I'm homeless and someone's like, hey, between 8 and 8 p.m., you got to carry your entire world on your back or wherever. That sucks.
Yeah.
I agree with you, what you're saying. You're just like, this feels draconian. I agree. It does feel draconian, but I'm hoping that this kind of activates the other parts of Portland who are just like, well, this is a solution then. All right, because I feel like someone needs to push hard enough for there to be another pushback. And I feel then it goes somewhere in the happy middle.
Yeah.
Is fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
I appreciate what you're saying. And I think the one thing that really gets me is that when it comes to the houseless crisis, it always seems like we're taking away resources before we give them to create that push. And that's where the
That's a
issue
good point.
lies for me. Why can't it be the other way around? It almost feels
Yeah.
like that's what we lean on. And my question is, where do city officials expect people to go during the day, like you brought up? Because the shelter system as well kicks people out after the evening hours. So there are these realities that people will have to exist in where things are even more uncomfortable from some pretty ridiculous circumstances as it is in terms of comfort or lack thereof. And I don't know if they hope that people will go and start being productive with their time because they won't have an encampment, you know? Like, what is this, like, imaginary reality they're picturing with forcing people out of their homes
Yeah.
during the day? Like, it's not just going to
Yeah.
spark some, like, oh, you know, I'm going to go do this thing now that's going to fix all my
I'm gonna go
problems.
get a job. I'm gonna go get a job.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go find therapy.
Exactly.
You know what? I'm gonna kick this drug habit. Yeah, I see what you're saying because that's just not what's gonna
Like,
happen.
where are the resources, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Something that gets left out of this conversation quite often is that a lot of the people that are experiencing houselessness do go to work every day. They leave their tent villages behind, they leave them empty, and they go to work every day.
That's the thing, too.
What I'm seeing is that what's going to happen is city council is going to vote on this camping ban initiative, and it's going to go through because that's the city council that we have right now. And everyone's going to, houseless individuals are going to be rounded up. Oh, sounds so crusty and creepy and gross, but they will be pushed into one of these safe rest wheeler villages. You know, he's got these campsites. So there is one, which is southeast Powell area, like Powell and 13th. And that area is run by a company that has done this in, I think Los Angeles and some other large metropolitan area. It's called Urban Alchemy. So they come through and they run that safe rest village. So theoretically, I'm thinking that Ted is thinking that this is going to solve this problem in their stuff will be safe. They'll be able to come and go as they please. They'll be able to access services. They'll be able to access mental health services. They'll be able to access job finding services, all of these things that are lacking for them now. Whether that happens or not remains to be seen. And this is where all of the fingernail biting and pearl clutching comes in. Because I'm in a neighborhood where I have seen my own neighbors lose their homes, move into an RV and go live on Columbia Boulevard. So it's not like I have that much of a dog in the fight, but I do feel like might be watching my own neighbors get rounded up. And I want the best for them too. So this kind of like my call to action for Portlanders is to eyes open, y'all. At the end of the month, let's see how this plays out and see if this is right for our community or if we can be doing better by our community. There's no shelter beds open. There's no mental health beds open. And these are real issues, like the issue of providing services before taking them away, like Julia stated. Like those things really need to be addressed. So wait and see. We're looking.
Well, not only that, Brianna, I agree everything that you said. I'm like, just so you know, everyone listening, just so you know, I agree with Brianna. So, so don't you at me. But like, it came out that in the first 6 months, the county has spent less than half its budget.
I know.
For homeless service money that it was
wild.
given. And so to me, that it doesn't build confidence in that the county and the city are going to be using the resources that the state is going to give them or that, they're getting from different funds. So yeah, that I understand why we have to keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Just that fact, I'm like, you had all the money. What could you have done with that money? Because it's not just like an eyesore or a blight or whatever. It's like, these are real people, human lives that like you could be bettering with that money doing something.
Yeah.
It's becoming a us versus them because it's like, almost like how we're getting pitted against each other.
It is very that. It is very much that. And these are our neighbors. And these, for any of us, unless you've got $1 billion in the bank, we are one or two tragedies from being there ourselves, which is something that we all need to be keeping in mind. We can't let these fools pit us against each other. We are strong together. I'm gonna. Y'all want to hear me go off? Sorry.
Brianna's like one statement away from ripping off her shirt like Hulk Hogan. I feel like before we move on, I just feel we can all agree that people shouldn't be pooping on the street. That's all,
I don't know if you guys do this too. After living in a few different cities, I almost have like a certain way I walk now on sidewalks, where like half my vision's looking to the ground to make sure I'm not stepping in shit, and my other half of vision is looking in front of me. There's like a poop walk.
That's no way to live. That's all I'm saying. Look, man, I'm not a Republican over here. But I'm just saying, wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah, a pot to piss in.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a quick break here, and when we come back, more headlines of the week. Julia, what's your story?
Okay, so
What caught your eye?
this week, Rory Bielostowski, who's 23, was voted in as the mayor of West Lynn. So he was, before this, the interim mayor when former mayor Jules Waters resigned after winning election to the Oregon House of Representatives. But he's 23. He was, before that, elected as city council in 2020 at the age of 21 and was sitting as council president before becoming interim mayor and now mayor. So he's not anyone that people are unfamiliar with at this point. But I myself, I'm 24 years old, and I'm trying to picture what it would feel like to become the mayor of West Lynn. And before I get into it, I just want to hear both of your initial reactions to that and how each of you would feel having a 23-year-old mayor right now.
Icetown? Icetown, anyone?
Exactly. Oh my God. I mean, ever since I heard he took over interim, I was like, Icetown.
Icetown.
Icetown. For those who have not watched Parks and Rec, it's a running joke that one of the characters became mayor of their small town when they were 18 and dunked the entire city by putting basically all of their budget against this ice recreational space where everyone could play hockey and ice skate, and it was called Icetown, and he was then called Ice Clown because he ruined that city. And every time he went back, he basically got tarred and feathered.
So I love that you brought up Icetown because one of his campaign initiatives was building an indoor recreation center that includes pickleball courts. So we are inching into Icetown territory, so you're not wrong.
Very much.
Well, isn't he also trying to do something with our waterfront?
Yes, he wants to start construction on a new riverfront area in the community.
I mean, it's feeling a little Ice Town.
Pickleball Town. He's building Pickleball Town.
It's going to be Pickle Town.
Pickle Town, yep.
Look, I'm sorry. I feel like we're trashing this man. Also, just how does someone trust a 23-year-old to be their mayor? And Westland isn't some little bumpkin town. Mm-hmm. They have money.
Yeah.
Well, he's been a figure in city politics for quite some time. When he was in high school, class of 2018, his first appearance in city council was when he was advocating for more street parking around the high school, which he was successful in doing. And then not too long after that, he actually sued a previous city council president for withholding public records, and he represented himself in county court. So
a little upstart.
Yeah.
So he's been at it for a while.
But his platform was more parking, and of course Westland was like, yeah.
Around the high school, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm not anti-Rory. You sound awesome, sir. I'm just pro Icetown.
Well, I want to make fun of him so bad, but just because he's so young and the Icetown thing, but how extraordinary must this person be to have been elected and to have gotten such a young start in politics too? And honestly, these fools in City Hall, they're acting like it's high school. They're in here beefing like it's high school, being petty like it's high school. So why not? Why not bring some young kid in and, let's show them what high school's like in the 2020s instead of these 70-year-olds acting like it's cute to be petty and shitty. So and also I think that younger generation, I'm in my 40s. So I'm looking at a 20-year-old and I'm seeing good for you for snatching the power back, for seeing, well, I mean, I don't know what was his platform besides the pickleball arena on the waterfront?
Yeah, so he did speak a lot about unfair tolling on Interstate 205, which makes a lot of sense for Westland because of where it's located. They could be seeing a lot of tolls in their near future. But outside of that, I do want to touch on your point on who he ran against. So his opponent was Bill Riea. And sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but he was 67 years old and a 22-year resident of West Lynn. But Rory won 80% of the vote in this election.
Oh
So
my
he blew him out of the
gosh.
water.
Isn't that insane?
I think that's awesome. I'm so proud. I think that's fucking awesome.
It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a fluke. Like,
Yeah.
people weren't just like, oh, maybe Rory. They're like, Rory for sure. I mean, to be honest, in Gen Z we trust. Like,
Legit, yeah.
As like a really old millennial, I'm just like, oh, come on, babies, let's do this thing. You take it.
See, I'm almost thinking, because I'm 24, I'm especially skeptical of him. You'd think I'd be supportive. I'm skeptical because I can't think of something I'd want to do less as a job right now than be a mayor of a town in Oregon. It just sounds exhausting, and it doesn't sound like something that I'd want to start my 20s doing. You know, so I'm like, what kind of a creature is this guy? Like, you got to be a very specific kind of person.
That's exactly what I'm saying. If anyone listening is from Westland, we're sorry. We're just joking around here, you know. But could you just tell us, like, why Rory? You don't have to defend him. We just want to know, like, we really want to know, like, what is it about this young man that is just blowing everyone out of the water politically in your district? Like, I want to know. Before we move on, I just want to wish Mayor Rory, a wonderful reign. That's and like good luck, seriously, because actually the pickleball and a riverfront would be pretty awesome, and I think it would bring people to Westland, because the last anyone heard of Westland was that like crazy deputy sheriff that was like sexually assaulting people and arresting people for like vendettas. I don't know if you guys remember. Sorry to bring that up, Westland, but that's the last thing I heard of you was that guy.
But hey, Rory's got it under control.
Yeah,
He can take care of it all for us.
Well, my story kind of is a little bit connected to yours, because it has the youths having their say, of course, with a lot of support. But have you been following the election results this week at all?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. Okay. So the Oregonian reported on just the election results of several school boards. And in them, Oregon, like it usually does, bucked the national trend. These are the reporters that were following this were, of course, Julia Silverman, who's their educational reporter, and Sammy Edge. But overall, candidates who had strongly supportive conservative ideologies, like having parents with zero teaching experience dictate the curriculum, or banning books, or not teaching any kind of sex ed at all, they all lost their races in the Portland suburbs and beyond. And this hasn't been the case in most of the country. Like, book bannings are like legit happening. You can't say gay. You can't. I mean, you've heard the news, and that was kind of leaking into places like Newburgh and Canby. Like, Canby full on banned books, and there was such an uproar from not only the student body, but it created this like storm of left-leaning organizations like local teachers unions who were just like, how about we teach? And Democratic county committees and even like Planned Parenthood and Basic Rights Oregon joined the fight. So it is like just a standard tale of like the old adage of like, if ye fucketh around, ye findeth out. Do you know what I mean? Because Newburgh actually was like, you cannot put up any pride flags. You can't put up anything that is BLM, Black Lives Matter. You can't put any sign that shows that other than a straight white man exists in this world. You know what I mean? Like, you can't show us another worldview because it's political. And they got kind of shut down, like, from national money. Went into these towns and just like boop. But yeah, so Hillsborough, Beaverton, North Clackamas, Newburgh, and Canby lost a lot of their most of their conservative board, and now it's considered like a little bit more moderate. But what do you guys think of this?
Do you remember when Newburgh first did that? We don't no rainbow flags, no BLM posters. Do you remember when? Was that like a year ago, 2 years ago, year and a half ago? It seems like fairly recent, but not super recent.
Yeah, it's 2021.
2021.
So
yeah, I think that what we're seeing now is going to be a new blueprint, because when that first went through, that was, I mean, Gagarella for reals. Like we were all, what? How? And what? So I think that what played out here is also going to play out across the nation as people like bounce out of that.
You think so? You think, because I feel like I just keep seeing the opposite. I'm hoping, but
I do.
it made me proud of Oregon for sure.
For sure, for
you
sure.
know?
Because people will say Oregon is one way, and people will say that Oregon is the other way. And I think I know Florida to be like super fucking gay. That state's gay as fuck. And it's also very diverse. That state's not going to fucking stand for what's going on. Like, people are already in the streets. People are already direct actioning the fuck out of that stuff. You know what I mean? Just like they were here. So I kind of think it's, the pendulum swings. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Julia?
Yeah, I think what's strange about it is just realizing how accustomed we are to having a divide in politics regardless of what we're talking about. Like, we're talking about a school board and we're still pushing this agenda of like conservative versus progressive, and we're talking about the kids. Like, we just our end goal is to create a healthy environment for children to learn and to grow. Since when did it involve so much of this and that? Speaking specifically to officially nonpartisan board. So that idea itself really trips me up. And I appreciate, Brianna, your perspective of it being a little bit more hopeful. I didn't really take it that way, but I could see that happening.
I mean, the reason it happened in Oregon was because the students made such an uproar, like in Canby and Newburgh, if you Google images, they're out there with BLM flags, with like, pride flags, and they're just like, we don't want this. This is not what we want in the school. Yeah. Teachers were joining them. Like, it was just like, because it was like, again, it should be a nonpartisan school board. So the school board was dictating how the kids were going to learn, what they were going to learn. And that's not really what a school board should be doing.
Exactly.
The school board has people like, I own a winery, which, by the way, was one. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I'm retired from lawn care. It's like, that is the school board that was elected. And it's like, they should, why are you telling us that we can't read this book?
Another thing I was saying too, looking at the story, was a lot of community members just having this like sigh of relief of, oh, okay, great. We're not going to be in the news anymore. We're just over it. Yeah. And that's just like,
we're gonna
hilarious
stop looking
to me.
like clowns. Yeah. Do you think, I mean, seriously, right? I mean, Newburgh is, just so you know, like a small community. I know people from Newburgh, and they are the most left-leaning, like,
totally right.
I'm not. It's not like you go to Newburgh and it's like a different, state and a different, political field. No, it is still gay. It is still, there are people of color who work there, especially Newburgh, because it's a big wine country. So there's actually an immigrant population. Like, Newburgh is diverse in its way. So I don't understand how this small faction kind of took over the narrative of who this town is. And so I agree with you, Julie. I'm sure that a lot of them are just like, oh, phew. Yeah. But also, like, wine country and winemakers, I thought you were cool. And I'm a little disappointed. That's all.
They're disinvited to the barbecue.
We're drinking White Claw. So sad. Now everyone's punished. It's just how everyone loses.
Oh, man.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us, Brianna. And Julia, as always, thank you for joining the party. I love it when you join us on the mic.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me again. Love it. It's always a kiki. It's always fun.
That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Our lead producer is John Atariani. Our audio producer is Julia Fiaioni. Our newsletter editor is Rachel Monahan. And our host is me, Claudia Meza. Special thanks to roving producers Noah Snyderman and Natalie Rivera. Original music by Jenny Conley and Steven Drizos. Additional music by Epidemic Sound. We'll be back Monday morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.